right, today we are going to be making oven-baked chicken tenders. So these handsome little fellas over here. How do we get there? Everybody loves chicken tenders. I tell students every year, oh, we're going to make chicken tenders. They get super excited. And then I tell them we're not going to fry them, and they're like, let's talk about still how to make them delicious without deep frying them. It's actually really simple, and if anything, they're even more delicious because they don't dry out. Fried foods tend to be drier, which is why we have to add so much extra stuff to them to keep them moist. These stay fairly moist all on their own. So, pretty straightforward recipe. You're going to need all-purpose flour, eggs or buttermilk, okay, and breadcrumbs and Parmesan, okay. Parmesan, you can leave that out if you want. Just make sure that you season it appropriately though, because the Parmesan does add a salty component and you don't want your food to be under-seasoned. And then you can either use chicken tenderloins, you can get them pre-cut like this, or you can take an entire piece of chicken breast or chicken thigh, you can cut it into strips. So we're gonna go ahead and mise en place, get all of our steps set up, and then I'm gonna show you guys how to get the tendon out of the chicken, which is like the least appetizing part. So if we look down here, we're setting up a 3-step process to dredge and bread our chicken. So dredging, that is when we coat the chicken in flour and egg or buttermilk, okay? And then when we bread it, we put it in the breadcrumbs. So obviously I've already done this once so that I could have them done for you to see. And then here we are with them already measured out. So my flour, I have plenty in there. I am gonna go ahead and season it a little bit more. My first batch wasn't as flavorful as I wanted. So make sure that you are seasoning your food really well and seasoning the dredging and the breading. I'm gonna add a little bit of garlic powder to this. I love garlic, okay? And I'm gonna mix those up really well. Each layer that you put on your bird needs to have seasoning in it because you're not putting a whole lot on there. So don't feel like this is just gonna be tons and tons and tons on there. Remember, this is getting spread out really thinly. Okay, so there's my flour. I'm gonna add a little more egg to this because I used a good bit. When you crack your eggs, crack them on a flat surface. Okay, that way you get the nice indentation, but the membrane inside doesn't break, so that when you break your egg, okay, all of those little egg pieces stay connected to the shell and they don't fall out. That's the trick. Don't crack it on a corner, crack it on a flat surface. Okay, and just gonna whisk this up. Eggs are a very sticky food. I like to think that they're kind of like the glue of the food world. They really do hold things together. They hold our food together when it bakes. They hold breadings on, like we're about to see here. They really just are a nice texture that keeps foods together, okay? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and season my eggs a little bit, just a little bit of salt. Okay, this is just kosher salt I'm using. All right, I still have a decent amount of breadcrumbs in here. I am gonna add just a little bit more. I'm gonna do some more of the panko. Panko is a Japanese style breadcrumb, and it is very large and crunchy. So if you really like crispy on your chicken tenders, panko is a great option for that. Okay, and again, we want to season at every layer, salt and pepper. You could add paprika, chili powder, cumin, garlic powder, onion powder, lemon pepper, anything like that. Okay, because we really want our food to taste good. Okay, and you get so little actually on the food with the breading, it's okay to have it seasoned. All right, let's talk about these chicken tenders. So, anytime we cook chicken, you want to make sure that it is nice and dry, okay? Everything adheres better to dry meat, all right? Never, ever, ever wash your meat. Don't put it in your sink. Don't pour water all over it. That's just unnecessary. Okay, so I'm gonna get all my chicken tenders over here, get them ready to be dried off. Okay. The reason I'm using paper towels is so I can throw it away when I'm done. All right, so take my paper towels, and I'm going to pat my chicken dry. After this process, it's going to be really important that you also wash your hands before you start touching anything that would not get cooked. Okay, so if you need to get more salt or something like that, you're going to need to wash your hands. Okay, but these are nice and dry now. How do I know that? Because my paper is sticking to them. They are nice and dry. Okay, and that's what we want. Dry chicken. All right. So, obviously, these paper towels at school aren't the greatest, but gets the job done. All right, nice and dry. Here we go. Also, this chicken is not ice cold. I took it out of the fridge about an hour and a half ago to kind of come up to room temperature. And the reason I did that is because I want this chicken to cook evenly, and cold meat does not cook evenly. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you a little hack here for getting the tendon, this part, out of the chicken, okay? So I'm gonna take a paper towel. Right, I'm gonna hold on to the tendon with the paper towel. And the reason I do that is because the tendon is slippery. Okay, I'm gonna take my fork and I'm just gonna slide one of the tines under the tendon. Okay, and now I'm gonna take my fork and just pull it down my chicken, and that tendon comes right out. Okay, there you have it. All right, so I'm gonna run through and do that on all of my chicken. The reason I wanna take those tendons out is that they're hard to eat. They're unpleasant, they don't feel good in your mouth, they don't cook down very well, okay? And I just don't wanna eat them. So I'm gonna run through these chicken tenders, get all the tendons out, and then when we come back, we will bread and dredge. Let's get ready. Okay, so I have gotten all the tendons out of my chicken. I have my dredging and breading set up. I've got a couple pairs of tongs so that my hands stay clean. I have covered a baking sheet with aluminum foil. My oven is preheated to 425 degrees. I'm gonna go ahead and spray my baking sheet with a little bit of vegetable oil spray just so that the chicken tenders do not stick. If you want to make these, if you have like an air fryer at home, you could make these in the air fryer. The reason I do the cooking spray, like I said, is so that they don't stick, and it also just gives me a nice little crispness without deep frying and having them be super coated in oil. So, my chicken here, I'm just gonna spread these out on my pan, around my cutting board. Again, I just got all of the tendons out. So that is my favorite little hack to make sure that your chicken tenders are actually tender, okay? I'm going to, again, season my food. Season your food with enthusiasm. Do not be scared of flavor, okay? Under-seasoned food is a crime. It should be. Because who wants to eat food that doesn't taste like anything? All right, seasoning food really is super important. Remember guys, I am usually doing this with, or I'm always doing this with kosher salt, which is a less salty salt. If you are using table salt, definitely use it a little more sparingly. Table salt is the stuff that like comes out of the shaker. Okay, it's really, really fine. Kosher salt is more flat. It's kind of like a flake. Okay, and it is just a less salty salt, which is why it is so great for cooking, because you can season it every layer and not have your food be overly salty. All right, let's get started. I'm gonna take my chicken, I'm gonna put it in the flour, make sure I get flour on both sides, shake off the excess, and into my eggs. Okay. Shake off my excess into my eggs. Okay. I'm going to take my chicken in the eggs, I turn it over, let all the excess egg drip off, and now I'm going to put it in with my breadcrumbs. Okay, I like to use a deep bowl like this so I can kind of coat it without stuff getting out of the pan. Okay, once my chicken is well coated, shake off the excess. I'm going to lay it neatly on my baking sheet. Okay. So, there we go. Oh, a little bit. Always check it. Okay. Nice and neat here. Get these into the eggs. More into the flour. So again, this flour and egg portion is called dredging, okay? So we put the flour on the chicken. That provides that first bit of seasoning as well as giving the eggs something to stick to. If we just put eggs on the chicken, even though we dried the chicken really well, it still really wouldn't have that egg stick. And you need that egg so that the breadcrumbs stick. You could actually coat this in just about anything. It doesn't have to be breadcrumbs. One of my favorite ways to do breading for chicken is actually hot Cheetos. Not the healthiest, but I really do enjoy that flavor, and it makes a yummy crust. So if you're looking for something funky to do, okay, that is always a fun option. Anything that is, you know, crispy like that. You can use crackers. You could use like Ritz crackers if you like those buttery crackers. You could use corn flakes. Corn flakes are also really delicious when they're crisped up like this, especially if you coat them in a little bit of butter first. Okay. So anything like that would work for your breading. You don't have to use breadcrumbs, but breadcrumbs is what I have a good bit of. Okay. You always want to make sure you have enough breading. So like mine's running a little low here in the pan. I will probably make some more before I finish this up. We are finishing up here with the dredging and breading of the very last chicken tender. So out of the flour, into the eggs, and into the breadcrumbs. Okay. Just want to make sure that this is coated really well on all sides. I want it to be nice and crispy. Okay. All right. I'm going to put it here on my baking sheet with all of my other chicken tenders. These are going to go in a 425-degree oven for about 18 minutes. Actually, probably not even that long. But I already did one batch, so they are done. They are nice and golden brown. I'm going to put these in the center rack, so right in the middle of the oven. Okay. And I'm going to set the timer for about 8 minutes. At that 8-minute mark, I'm going to pull them out, flip them over, stick them back in for another 7 or 8 minutes, and let them finish cooking. And you should end up with a nice, juicy, moist chicken tender. Look at how moist that is inside, guys. So juicy, okay? And that's what we're looking for. We don't want dry, yucky chicken. We want it to really maintain that flavor, maintain that moisture, okay? And then you can serve it with your favorite dipping sauce. All right? See you in class.